Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Jai Hind. Namaskar. So I hope now I'm properly audible and visual to all of you. I hope that I am properly audible and visual to all of you. Good morning. And I welcome you all to this session, slightly delayed due to the rainfall and other challenges. Okay. So I hope now I'm properly audible. Good morning. Okay, so I welcome you all to this session of daily editorial analysis. And in today's session, the topics which we are going to discuss, the first topic is with respect to the Finance Commission and Fiscal Federalism. This is going to be our first topic which we are going to discuss. The second topic is with respect to India, China and climate cooperation. That is the second topic which we are going to discuss. The third topic is with respect to the Gen Z versus Gen Y. That in this case, the Gen Z versus Gen Y, what is the difference in the approach? The millennials versus the new generation, what is the difference in approach? That is something which we are going to see. Okay. So these are the three topics. These are the three editorials. You can see this is the second part related to your federalism topic. Then we have the India, China and climate cooperation. It is related to your IR also and environmental conservation also. The third thing is the Gen Z versus Gen Y. It is related with the society paper. Okay. So these are the three topics which we are going to discuss today. The first one is with respect to the fiscal federalism, the Finance Commission. Okay. So I think all of you know Finance Commission. If we talk about this, the Finance Commission, it is a constitutional body. When we talk about the Finance Commission, I think all of you know this is a constitutional body. A constitutional body. This is under Article 280. Under Article 280. This gives advice. This gives advice for tax sharing between union and states. This is called as vertical sharing. Vertical sharing plus tax division formula among states, which is called as horizontal sharing. Horizontal sharing. So I think this is one basic part which you all are aware about. That when we are talking about the Finance Commission is a constitutional body. It is a constitutional body under the Article 280. It gives advice for sharing between union and states, and it is also giving advice for sharing among the states, like how it is going to be shared between the states. So we see that recently the 16th Finance Commission has given its recommendation. 16th Finance Commission, it has given its recommendation. Given its recommendation. I think you are aware about this, that 16th Finance Commission has given its recommendation. Now, the vertical sharing, this is something which is fixed. The vertical sharing is fixed at 41%. Okay. The vertical sharing is fixed at 41%. Then if we talk about the horizontal sharing, what we see that there is a change in formula. There is a change in formula. There are multiple components of it, but you will see that there is something, introduction of a new component. There is an introduction of new component, which is contribution to GDP. Contribution to GDP having 10% weightage. It is having a 10% weightage. So that is one thing which we have seen, that the introduction of the new component contribution to GDP, that is valued at 10%. So what we see here, that when we are talking about this finance commission, it has given its recommendation, it has given its criterias that how the fund is going to be divided among the states also. There is one new component, contribution to GDP. There are certain changes in other components also, but we are not discussing it from prelims perspective, so we are not going into that. So there is one part where there is introduction of a new component, that is contribution to GDP. Now at the same time, it has also said that there will be no such revenue deficit grant. Okay. It has also recommended this one important component. It has said no to revenue deficit grants, no to revenue deficit grants or sector specific grants or state specific. So it has said that there will be no such sector specific grant or a state specific grant or revenue deficit grant. That there will be no such grants on these basis. There will be no such grant on this basis. Now what it has in fact recommended. First of all, we have seen that what is Finance Commission, what are its key recommendation. One of the key recommendation is, when we are talking about this, Finance Commission has also said this. Finance Commission, it says that there will be performance based grants. There will be performance based grants. Now, if we look at this, that performance based grant, so what do you think? Is it better or is it challenging? What is the intent behind it? What is the intent? Why they have gone for performance based grant? What is the intent behind this? That the states will have a better performance. There will be better performance by states. Better fiscal discipline. Okay. Then there will also be optimum use of resources. There will be optimum use of resources. That whatever resources we are having, there will be optimum use of the resources. That is the intent. That is what the Finance Commission wants to achieve. If we look at this once again, the Finance Commission is a constitutional body. It is giving the advice for sharing between union and states and also among the states. Now what we see, the 16th Finance Commission, it has fixed the vertical sharing at 41% and there is a change in the formula. It has introduced a new component, contribution to GDP, with a weightage of 10%. At the same time, it has also said no to revenue deficit grant, sector specific grant or state specific grant. What in fact it has suggested that we can go for performance based grants. The Finance Commission has said that we can go for performance based grants which can help in better performance by states, better fiscal discipline and optimum usage of the resources. That is one of the intent behind this. That is the intent behind this Finance Commission, that what they want to achieve. But then there are certain concerns of the states also. There are certain concerns of the state. There are certain concerns of states also. So let us try to say into that. That what are the concerns of the states? Okay, like if we talk about the states, states have more responsibility and less resources. You know that states, they are primarily responsible for social expenditure. The states are primarily responsible for social expenditure. Social expenditure, which is like that they have to spend on health, education, social welfare. Now, if you look at this, this is something which is a revenue expenditure. The nature is revenue expenditure. There is one thing, this is a revenue expenditure. And what we see that there is a lesser chances, of getting back the money. There is lesser chances of getting income on this. Lesser chances of getting immediate return. There is a lesser chances of getting immediate return on this. So this is a type of a revenue expenditure. If the government is focusing on health, if the government is focusing on the welfare of the citizens, it is not going to eventually turn into an asset for the state in near future. At least it is not going to bring some funds there. Okay. At least it is not going to bring some fund for them. It is not going to bring some fund for them. Okay. So that is one of the part which we see here with respect to the concerns of the states. Now we see that there is another concern. There is another concern which we see here. There is another concern which we see here that they have the states which are there are having lesser sources of revenue. They are having lesser sources of revenue. They are having the lesser sources of revenue also. You know that most of the taxation power, most of taxes, like even income tax goes to union. So we see that the states are having lower revenues. States are having lower revenues. So they are ultimately dependent on whom? They are ultimately dependent on the center for funding. Now what we see, there is a third concern that at present the union government, they are focusing more on cess and surcharge. They are focusing more on cess and surcharge. Okay. So then when they are focusing more on cess and surcharge, what we see that this is something which is not shared with state government. This is not shared with state government. Okay. Now, to look at the three parts. First of all, we see that the state is having more responsibility, less resources. Okay. Second, we see that they are having the lesser sources of revenue, most of the things goes to the union government. The third thing is, at present, union government is focusing more on cess and surcharge, which again goes to whom? Which again goes to the states. Yeah, again, states ke paas nahi aata. Sorry, it goes to the union. It is not being shared with the states. So these are certain challenges. And in middle of all this, we have seen that the Finance Commission, it has recommended, this one has recommended performance based grants. It has recommended performance based grants. It has set for elimination of revenue deficit grant. Revenue deficit grants. Okay. So what we see that in this situation again, it becomes challenging for the states. It is again an impediment for the states for getting revenues. Okay. So this further creates impediment. Of resources for many states. Just to give you an example, it is creating a challenge for many states. Like suppose if we are talking about the northeastern states of India, if we are talking about the northeastern states, if we are talking about hilly states, etc. So this is going to be a challenging situation for them. How they are going to get the revenue? How are they going to get the revenue? They are having very limited resources. And then in that condition, if they are not being provided revenue deficit grant, sector specific grant or space specific grant, in that situation, the challenge may become more for the smaller states or hilly states or vulnerable states. So that is one of the core concern of the states. We have seen first that what is Finance Commission? What is Finance Commission? What they have said with respect to the grants, what is their intent and what is the concern of the states. Now, in this case, what is being said that when we are talking about Finance Commission, when we are talking about the Finance Commission, it is responsible not only for fiscal discipline, it is also having the duty of fiscal justice. Okay. It also is having the duty of fiscal justice. It has to ensure equity also. So there is a need of balancing. There is a need of balancing equity and discipline. So that's why there is a need of balancing the equity and discipline. That it cannot be unilateral. That you cannot just focus on the fiscal balance or fiscal discipline only. You have to see that what are the conditions of the states. The states cannot borrow the fund from outside. They cannot borrow the fund from outside. They have a limit on their own revenue deficit, on their fiscal deficit also. That the fiscal deficit should not be crossing 3% of GSDP. So there are so many restrictions on a state government with respect to funding. Now the thing is, if there are so many restrictions on it, how they are going to spend, how they are going to focus on welfare of its citizens, how they are going to focus on the welfare of their citizens. So that is one of the concerns for the states which is highlighted in this article. Okay. So I hope it is also having duty of fiscal justice. It is also having duty of fiscal justice. Okay. So this is one of the first topic, and on the basis of it, there is this question. Examine the concerns of a state with respect to the 16th Finance Commission recommendation on grants. 150 words. So I think it will be quite much easier for you to write now. ये आपके लिए बहुत आसान होगा इसको लिखना. I think all of you can write this quite easily. लिख सकते हैं सभी लोग. देखो, I know there are so many questions with respect to RTA and other thing, but the thing is कि we don't have to identify the difference between public awareness and political branding. We have to only see those topics which are relevant from our exam perspective. Okay. The keyword is examine. Here examine means you have to evaluate. You have to give both positives. Give both positives and negative dimensions. You have to give both positive and negative dimensions. Like, are they valid or not? Are they valid or not? Are the concerns of a state valid? Why they are valid? Why they are not valid? Okay. तो मैंने दोनों साइड आपको बताया कि what is the intent of the Finance Commission? Why the Finance Commission wants to do this? And plus, what are the concerns? So you have to write the concerns also, and after writing the concerns, you have to also tell that why the Finance Commission has gone for it. And while writing the last conclusion, you have to give your opinion and way forward. You have to give your opinion and you have to give way forward. So that is one thing. You have to tell about the positive and negative. Then in the conclusion portion, you have to give opinion about this plus suggestion. You have to give opinion plus suggestion. Okay. Sir, I have recently started editorial class. Do I have to cover all previous editorial classes? See, the nature of editorial is like this. That suppose you are starting today. Initially, it may feel that I have been left out from the previous articles and other things. But gradually, over a period of time, you will find that many of the topics which are there, they get on repeated. Okay. They get on repeated. So this is one of the things which you have to keep in mind. They will keep on repeating. They will keep on repeating. So even if you're continuing with it from right now, then also it is fine. Okay. नहीं फिर time change नहीं हुआ अनामिका. The time of editorial session remains at 8:15. Just for one day, we have changed the time to 10 because I was traveling. Otherwise, the editorial session time remains at 8:15 a.m. Okay. तो इसके टाइम में कोई बदलाव नहीं हुआ है. There is no change. Okay. चलो, coming to the next part. The next part is again very important article. Okay. A climate resilience. Okay. A climate resilience pathway between India and China. Okay. Now see, there are two parts of it. Let us see this one thing. When we are talking about India and China, relations, we see that usually there is a conflict. This is conflict with respect to trade, with respect to geopolitics, with respect to not trade, conflict with respect to border. There is a conflict with respect to border. There is also confrontation like we have seen Galvan clash, 1962 war, Doklam crisis. Okay. So there is a confrontation also. There is a competition. There is a competition. There is a competition which is existing at the level of the trade, geopolitics. So we see that there is a conflict, confrontation, competition. But we see that there is a element of, there is a potential chance of cooperation and collaboration. On what? Climate change. With respect to climate change. Okay. So we see that when we are talking about India and China relation, there is a conflict with respect to border. There is a confrontation also which we see from time to time. There is also a competition in trade, in geopolitics. Okay. There is conspiracy also. There is a conspiracy also, but we are not going into that. And what we see that when we are talking about this, there is an opportunity, there is a chance, there is a potential chance of cooperation also and collaboration also, and that too comes from one C, that is climate change. So initially we see that there is a 3C, which we see here. There is a 3C which we see here in conflict, confrontation and competition. But there is a 2C which is potential, which is having a potential. And the thing is that why we can see that there can be a collaboration or a competition, why it is possible. Now the thing is, what is the reason behind it? What are the causes behind it? Okay. When we are talking about this, what is the cause behind this? Why it is possible? So it is like divided by conflicts, united by climate change. India and China relations can be divided by conflicts and confrontation, but it can be united by climate change. So climate change offers a chance of cooperation between India and China. It is giving a way for a cooperation between India and China. Why? We see that the recent challenges, there are certain recent challenges like climate change, extreme weather events, like flooding, cloudburst, intense drought, cyclones. Okay. So we see that there is climate change, extreme weather events, flooding, cloudburst, intense droughts, cyclone. And these events, they are having an impact on what? Urban flooding. They are having an impact like urban flooding. They are having an impact like agricultural loss. they are having a challenge, loss of productivity, loss of productivity. We see that there are certain disasters like landslides, destruction of infrastructure. There is a destruction of infra. Okay. Then we see that there is also sea level rise and potential of submergence of coastal areas. There is a potential of submergence of the coastal areas. Now we see that this is basically a common impact. This is something which is a common impact for both India and China. This is something, yes, food security also. Very good. Food security also. Okay. So you can write here this part of food security also. So we see that this is a common challenge for both India and China. There is a common challenge for both India and China. And we see that why this is happening. Like, what is the reason behind this? You will find this. There is a common reasons also. Common factors behind it. There are common factors behind it. Like, we see that loss of wetlands, we see that there have been a rapid expansion of urban areas. There is a rapid expansion of urban areas. We see that there has been a higher level of deforestation. Higher level of deforestation. We see that there has been higher level of deforestation also. Okay. We see that there has been encroachment of river bankings or of river banks. Okay. There has been encroachment again of river banks. Okay. There has been growth of polluting industries. In fact, if you look at this, India and China are having one of the largest emissions. Our per capita emissions may be lower. But we see that our per capita emission is lower, but we see that there is this one part that the net emission from India and China are quite high. The net emission, like you can see, China is one of the top most emitter of carbon dioxide. US is second number. India is third number. So India is the third largest emitter of greenhouse gas. China is the first. China is at the first ranking. So we see that we are having a similar problem. We are having almost similar problem. Now, in this situation, what we see that, like, basically in April 2026, we see that there has been a recent development. In April 2026, In April 2026, there was basically a visit of China's special envoy of climate change to New Delhi. Okay, visit of China's special envoy for climate change to Delhi. So the special envoy for climate change of China, they have visited Delhi in April 2026. Okay, and what we see that, what are the potential areas? Okay, what are the potential areas where we can collaborate? Okay, what are the potential areas of collaboration? What are the potential areas of collaboration? If we look at this, we have a potential area of collaboration with respect to green energy. We have a potential area of collaboration with respect to green energy. We can collaborate on green energy. We can collaborate on disaster risk reduction. Disaster risk reduction. Both of the countries are facing natural disasters. There can also be a focus on urban resilience and climate adaptation. Urban resilience, climate adaptation practices. Okay. So there can be a focus on green energy, disaster risk reduction. There can be focus on creation of sponge cities. Creation of sponge cities. What are sponge cities? It is basically with respect to water harvesting. Those who can harvest water easily. So sponge cities. Okay. We can also have joint collaboration. Okay, we can also have joint collaboration with respect to the global climate policies. India has already been collaborating in this global climate policies. Okay, India and China, they have always been cooperating with respect to various policies with respect to climate. Okay, so India, China, Brazil, South Africa, they have always been talking about this climate change policy, that what should be our approach, how we are going to bring countries on the table in COP and others. So we see that there is this continuous collaboration with India, China, and other similar countries with respect to climate change. We can also have collaboration on climate funding. Climate funding. So these are the potential areas where India and China can collaborate with each other, where we can collaborate with each other. And this is something we can also do on early warning system, development of early warning system. We can also work on development of early warning system. So these are the areas. We can also work on climate resilient crops. Climate resilient crops. So there are multiple such potential areas of collaboration between India and China. See, it was said that the 21st century can be the century of the Asia. If we are talking about 19th century, the 19th century was the century of Europe. The 19th century was the century of Europe, when there was huge expansion of Europe. Europe was throughout the world. They have created colonies. They have extracted huge amount of resources. They have gone for industrial revolution, everything. So 19th century was the century of Europe. 20th century was the century of North America. Now 21st century, this is one such part. The 21st century, this could have become the century for Asia, when the Asian powers could have collaborated together. Think about this. If our mutual conflicts are resolved, just imagine this. If our mutual conflicts are resolved, and then there are three powers. We have got India, we have got China, we have got Russia. And if we manage to add Japan and South Korea to that collaboration, think about this, that five countries of the world, Russia, Japan, South Korea, China, and India, if these five countries of Asia collaborate with each other, they form an association for cooperation, for resolving conflicts and working together. Think about this, how the world will change. अगर ये पांच देश एक साथ आ जाए, think about this, that how the world is going to change. The 21st century could already have become the century of Asia. It is only the mutual conflicts between the nations which is like impeding this, or which is halting this century from becoming the century of Asia. There are so many great powers with great capacity, but the mutual conflicts between them, this is what is creating the challenge for Asia. Otherwise, think about it. Singapore is also like ASEAN together. ASEAN together. Think about this individually. Individually, the Asian countries are so much powerful or so much like influential. Individually, the Asian countries are so much influential. If the Asian countries come together, if the Asian nations come together, what will be the impact on the world? Okay. So this is one of the part that this is one such era where there are great powers. This is one such area where there is great powers, but the cooperation between them, the collaboration between them is something which is a distant dream. Okay. तो ये काफी challenging है, but yes, there is a potential. Now, coming to the question with respect to this, अब देखो, while there are several components of confrontation between India and China, climate change provides a choice to India and China for cooperation and collaboration. Comment. लिख सकते हैं आंसर अब इसका? Can you write the answer for this question now? I think you are having the entire content for this. Spickman's rimland theory सच हो जाएगी फिर. Okay. Let it be then true. Now, coming to the third article, it is now about the Gen Z versus Gen Y. This is not something which you have to note down. ये आपको note down नहीं करना है. Just try to understand this. Okay. Just try to understand this. Okay. That we are having one thing. On one side, we have Gen Z and Gen Y, or the millennials. Millennials. Now, what we are talking about the difference in approach. इन दोनों के अप्रोच में डिफरेंस को समझने की कोशिश करते हैं. When we are talking about this Gen Y, when we are talking about the Gen Y, okay, if you want, you can also highlight it. Okay. दो तलवार एक म्यान में नहीं रह सकते. Correct. Now, if we are talking about Gen Y, see that there was a focus on individual career rather than social reform. There was a focus on individual career rather than social reform. Okay. So that was one of the part. Okay. What was the main focus? In fact, you can see that the millennials, they have a focus that they want to become a civil service. They have to go in. They were focusing on civil services. Okay. They were focusing on getting in law, academics, journalism. Here the focus was on individual success. There was an element of adaptation. There was an element of adaptation. There was an element of adaptation. Okay. There was an element of adaptation in the millennials, because the millennials are very much like compromising in nature. They have acceptance of declining standards. They are very much silent generations, including like I belong to the millennial part. So what we see that there is a silent mechanism in the millennials. Millennials are very silent generations. They have accepted everything. They have accepted the declining standards of the public institutions. Okay. But what we see that the Gen G which has come, it is not compromising. It is not compromising. It is not compromising. It is not ready. It is not ready to accept declining standards. It is very much assertive about rights. The Gen Z is very much assertive about the rights. Okay. So we see that like what we see that the Gen Z are different in their approach and Gen Y is different in approach. And it depends on upbringing also. It depends on our upbringing also. देखो क्या होता है कि like suppose if we are talking about the millennials, those who were born in 80s and early 90s, so they have been going through a phase when the economy of the country or economy of the families were not quite good. ठीक है. जो Gen Y है, the millennials, they have been born in such a situation when the economy of country was not very good. When the economy of the families were not very good, the per capita income was not good, the resources were not available. The resources were not available. Okay. Like suppose that electricity, suppose that if you are not getting electricity, let me give you an example. If you are not having electricity in your classroom, suppose you are taking offline classes, the Gen Z, if you are taking offline classes, and the electricity is not there in your classroom, how many of you are going to continue in the offline classes? मान लो आपको क्लास करनी है offline and if there is no electricity, how many of you are going to continue in the classes? Very few. And you cannot say that no sir, we will compromise. I have seen many of you in the classes. In offline classes, I have seen many of you. Even if there is a power cut for 10 minutes, people become so much like angry. They become so much like they feel that there is too much heat and everything. So you are not ready to accept it. But when we talk about the millennials, they have always been accommodating. If there is no electricity, fine. We always have seen that there is no electricity. We have seen the phases. Nowadays, the power cuts may be of 2 hours, 3 hours, or 4 hours maximum in most of the places. In most of the places, we see that the power cut is of 3 hours, 4 hours, etc. Okay. So there, people are still not ready to accept it. And in the time of millennials, the supply of the power was 3 to 4 hours. So there is a huge difference. Earlier, there was a supply of power for 3 to 4 hours. Now there is a power cut for 3 to 4 hours. So there is a huge difference. So Gen Y or the millennials, they have been brought up in such a manner that they have become accommodating in nature. They are ready to accept. They are ready to accept. They are ready to change. And they are thinking that if we have to get rid of this situation, if we have to get rid of this situation, we have to work on ourselves. तो तभी आपने देखा होगा, like if we go back to 2020, if we go back to 2020 or 2015, this was the time of the Gen Y, the millennials. So at that time, the stories of a person, individuals, used to become very much famous. 2010 से 20 में आप देखोगे, stories of individuals used to become quite much famous. Or even prior to that, from 2005 to 2020, you may have seen that individual stories were becoming quite famous. People were taking inspiration from a few people and then they were working on it. So that was a different phase. Now what we see that the Gen Z, it is not looking for that individual motivation or individual success. It is talking about social transformation. It is not ready to accept the challenges in the society. It wants a transformation in the society. So that is one thing which we see in the change in the approach. Okay. So that is how the society has been changing. Now, you don't have to write this. You don't have to make notes on it. This was just an article and I thought let's discuss it. Okay. So that is one of the approach change in Gen Z versus Gen Y. Many a times you are also asking me, sir, how are you so much calm and composed? If someone is saying something to you in the chat box, why are you not responding or anything? So you can see this, that why the millennials are more calm and composed. We have been brought up in this manner that even if someone is saying something, someone is abusing also, then also the millennials tend to stay silent. They are more calm and composed. So they are not that much reactive. But the Gen Z, of course, the new generation which is there, it is much more politically empowered, much more politically aware. So situations, according to the changing situation in society, the society always keeps on evolving. Society always keeps on updating. Wait for the generation alpha. Wait for the generation alpha. Okay. So, like, wait for the generation alpha. You have seen that the Gen Z is just coming on the streets in after colleges or after class 10th, 12th. The Gen Alpha, it is on the streets from class 3, 4, 5 itself. So wait for the next generation. They have been trained. They have been trained to get everything according to their demand. They have been trained to get everything according to their demand. Like if they want something, they do it, they take it at any cost. They get it at any cost. If they have to get a particular toy, if they have to get a particular chocolate, a biscuit or anything, they are very much assertive about it. They know the emotional tools also. They know how to manipulate, how to pressurize. So wait for the alpha generation. You will see the change. Okay. So alpha generation is going to be much more dangerous. It is going to be much more assertive as compared to the Gen Z. Okay. Yes, they have been downloaded from Amazon or come from Flipkart, Amazon. Okay. So that is one of the part, the change in our society. Now, last day we were having this one question. The basic structure of Indian constitution advocates for democratic rule. In this context, examine the situation in Jammu and Kashmir post Article 370 abrogation. Gen Alpha is threatening like this. Suppose earlier, what used to be trend, let's suppose if we talk about millennials or if we talk about Gen Z also, there was a trend of parents क्या करते थे कि उन्हें अपने बच्चे को अगर समझाना है, for millennials it was simple. You have some stick, you have the option of slapping, you have the option of slippers. ठीक है, तो first thing is you can simply slap. The millennials will come in order. If not by slapping, you have a stick or you have slipper. Okay. So if you have to bring the millennials in order, parents were having three options. Okay. Parents के पास तीन ऑप्शन होता था, थप्पड़ मारो, स्टिक से मारो या चप्पल से मारो. Millennials are back on the track. ठीक है, तो उनको जो बोला गया यही खाना है तो यही खाना है. That is as simple as that. When the Gen G came, then parents started getting more such like जो Gen Z है उसमें पेरेंट्स ने क्या हुआ, इमोशनल ब्लैकमेल करना स्टार्ट किया. पेरेंट्स स्टार्टेड इमोशनल ब्लैकमेलिंग. सो व्हाट दे यूज्ड टू डू, पेरेंट्स स्टॉप्ड टॉकिंग. जैसे मान लो बच्चा जो है वो बदमाशी कर रहा है, तो हाउ द पेरेंट्स, व्हाट द पेरेंट्स यूज्ड टू डू, दे आर गिविंग साइलेंट ट्रीटमेंट. तो Gen Z को साइलेंट ट्रीटमेंट मिलता था पेरेंट्स से. तो दे वर स्टिल समवॉट लाइक थिंकिंग कि हाँ पेरेंट्स साइलेंट हो गए, हाउ टू इंप्रूव. So what we see, the Gen Z was having that silent treatment from the parents. Now when we come to Generation Alpha is giving the silent treatment to their parents. Now parents are changing according to the demand of their children. Okay. Generation Alpha is giving that silent treatment to their parents. So now that is Uno reverse. You may have seen Uno reverse. So that Generation Alpha is the Uno reverse. That now they are giving the silent treatment to their parents. Okay. So that is one of the things which we see in the Generation Alpha. Okay. So the things are changing in society. Okay. The silent treatment was part of the parents in the Gen Z. Now the Generation Alpha, now they have got this option that they are giving the silent treatment to their parents itself. Okay. So things have changed in the society. So that is Uno reverse. Okay. Now coming to this one part, the basic structure of Indian Constitution advocates for democratic rule. Okay. In this context, examine the situation in Jammu and Kashmir post Article 370 abrogation. Okay. How you are going to write this answer? See, the keyword here is examine. So it means you have to tell about both the positive sides as well as the negative sides. Okay. So what we see, first in the introduction, you will give the context of this. Context about Article 370. Okay. Then you will make a flow chart with respect to intent. That what was the intent? What was the factor? Why there was abrogation or why there was change in the structure of Article 370. Then you are going to tell about that what achievements have been there. What achievements have been there in the last 7 years. This is one part where you have to tell what achievements have been there in last 7 years. आज का जो न्यूज़पेपर है, अगर आपने नहीं देखा है, in that newspaper you will see there is one data part. तो आज के इवनिंग के क्लास में हम लोग उसको डिस्कस करेंगे 3:45 में. But in that you will find the data that what things have changed in Jammu and Kashmir. Some parts we have discussed last day also. कुछ चीजों को हम लोगों ने last day डिस्कस किया था. Then we will see something more in tomorrow's session, in today's session also in the evening. Okay. So achievements in the last 7 years, that is one thing which you have to see. Then what challenges have remained? What challenges have remained? That also you have to highlight that what challenges are there in the last 7 years. Then after this portion, you have to suggest way forward. This can be in the form of flow chart. Okay. And then I have to write the conclusion. This conclusion can focus on the statehood, public trust, and constitutionalism. तो इसमें इन 3 कीवर्ड्स का आपको जिक्र करना है. In writing the conclusion, you have to talk about statehood for Jammu and Kashmir. You have to talk about the building of public trust and upholding the principles of constitutions or adhering by constitutionalism. Okay. So this is one part which you have to do in the conclusion section. कि आप conclusion में यहाँ पे क्या क्या लिखोगे, इसको आप add कर सकते हो. So I hope that is clear. Okay. So how many of you have written this answer? कितने लोगों ने लिखा था आंसर? Okay, तो today also you are having 2 questions. आज भी आपके पास 2 questions है जिसका आंसर लिखना है. Okay, that examine the concerns of a state with respect to the 16th Finance Commission recommendation on grants. While there are several components of confrontation between India and China, climate change provide a choice to India and China for cooperation and collaboration. Comment. अब देखो आपको एक चीज और करना है. एक चीज और करना है. You have to tell me about this one thing. In last 6 days, how many answers you have written? How many answers you have written in the last 6 days? ये आपको बताना है. जितने भी लोग सेशन देख रहे हो लाइव या later on, you have to tell me this one thing. How many answers you are writing per day? Or in the last 6 days, how many answers you have written? लेट उठे. हाँ, तो मौसम अच्छा है. फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन देखो, हर क्वेश्चन तो डिस्कस नहीं करता हूं. व्हाट वाज द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन? लेट मी सी दिस वन. टुडे इट इज, पहला क्वेश्चन आसान था इसलिए डिस्कस नहीं किया. व्हाट वाज द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन? एक सेकेंड. The first question was the transformation of NATO brings a significant opportunity for India. The transformation of NATO brings a significant opportunity for India. Discuss. तो इसमें बस आपको opportunity बताना था कि you have to first write the context. You have to give the context. Okay. The recent changes in NATO. इसको आप introduction में लिख दो. Then you can make a flow chart of NATO 1.0, 2.0, 3.0. सब चीजें नहीं लिखना है, but just the main gist of it. Just the main gist of it. Okay. Then you have to mention that what are the opportunities for India. और उसको एक एक करके उसमें डिस्कस करते जाना है कि what opportunities are there for India. 4 days में 2 essay and okay, take care of yourself, नीलू. 2 essay और 12 questions लिखे. वेरी गुड सर. ओनली 5-6 days में प्रैक्टिकल चल रहा है. हाँ, तो आई थिंक नाउ योर क्लासेस विल बी ओवर ऑलमोस्ट. देखो, प्लीज हेल्प इन चूजिंग प्लान बी. सिलेबस ओवरलैप. प्लान बी किस चीज के लिए? मीन्स यूपीएससी के अलावा. देखो, if we talk about plan B, I am not very good at advising the plan B, but if you want to still see something, I will suggest you, you can do some technical courses along with the preparation. Like you can go for some AI certificate courses. So rather than going for any random thing, I will suggest you, if you have time, go for some AI certification courses or AI courses. This might help you in getting some good jobs in future also, and you will always have an opportunity. The upcoming age is of AI. Although you will always need to do something else, but if you want a quick job, then AI certification courses will be better. सर मैंने नया नया इंडियन एक्सप्रेस न्यूज़पेपर पढ़ना स्टार्ट किया है तो कुछ वर्ड्स समझ नहीं आते हैं. देखो, इफ देर आर सर्टेन न्यू वर्ड्स, you can see the dictionary. That is one thing. Second thing is, like, it will develop over a period of time. It will not be done in just one day. क्या होता है कि when you are reading something new, you have to generally develop the context. धीरे धीरे क्या होगा कि आपको कॉन्टेक्स्ट या न्यूज आर्टिकल समझ में आने लगेगा. एंड व्हेन यू आर एबल टू रिलेट विद दैट, then it will be easier for you to understand the topic. वकालत क्यों नहीं? देखो, the thing is, when we are talking about law, it's a very good profession, but again the challenge is enormous in law also. If you are doing it from a proper college, from a proper university, then there is a chance that you may be hired as a corporate lawyer or others. But if you're thinking that just by doing law and at the same time you can go and practice law in any of the court or any other places, it is a challenging thing. तो law करना ठीक है, but getting a immediate practice after that is a challenging part. अच्छा, which has syllabus similarity with UPSC? I will suggest you, I think the best thing which you can do right now, UPPCS का अभी फॉर्म नहीं आया ना. If UPPCS form has not been released right now, I will suggest you go for UPPCS. It is almost similar to UPSC. So it is almost similar to UPSC. If you work for the next 3 to 4 months, it will be easier. You can also go for EPFO. If you are less than 25 years of age, I will suggest you CAPF exams also. पैसे की कमी नहीं है. देखो, there is a very famous dialogue for this. मेरे पास पैसे की कमी नहीं है, मैं कभी भी किसी से भी उधार ले सकता हूं, है ना? तो नहीं, इट्स गुड. इन केस ऑफ लॉ दिस इज वन ऑफ द चैलेंज. देखो, कमेंट जो कीवर्ड है, इफ यू आर 20, दिस इज द प्रॉब्लम विथ जेन जी. अभी आप 21 साल के हुए हो, योर लाइफ हैज नॉट स्टार्टेड येट एंड यू आर लुकिंग फॉर प्लान बी. दिस इज द बिगेस्ट प्रॉब्लम विथ जेन जी. अभी आपका उम्र 21 साल हुआ है. इन 21 ईयर आई वॉज नॉट इवन थिंकिंग अबाउट प्लान ए, और अब प्लान बी और प्लान सी पे आप सोच रहे हो. जस्ट फोकस ऑन यूपीएससी. देखो, in case of comment keyword, you have to explore the multiple dimensions. You have to explore all the possible dimensions of the question. Anuj, you don't have to think about plan B. You have to think first about the plan A. पहले plan A तो सोचो, plan B पे क्यों जा रहे हो अभी? I thought you are asking like if you are 28 years, 29 years, now there is an immediate challenge for you. अभी आप 21 साल के हुए हो. Just focus on plan A. चलो, तो that will be all for today. That will be all for today. Okay. हाँ, only focus on UPSC. So don't think about plan B, plan C, plan D. So that will be all for today. Thank you everyone. Take care and all the best. Thank you.